The comments have been blowing up since before this stream started. We are in some alternate universe that I have no idea if it's 2013, if it's 2025, or if this is 1996 Bash at the Beach all over again. Welcome to this instant reaction live show from Squared Circle Radio, the show that is for the fans, by the fans, and fans all around the world. We have so much to get into. Papa H has cooked again, as Aaron Grisham in the comments says. I'm your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting Chris Belcher. The young buck, Andy York, is with me. Also, my brother from another mother, Jared Justice. We will get to all of them. The comments are blowing up. If you're watching us live, keep them coming. Keep your questions coming. There is so much, Andy, to talk about with the Elimination Chamber and John Cena flipping the script, doing something we thought we would never, ever see, but never say never.
Never say never. Listen, when we floated this idea out a couple weeks ago, and even last week on the pre-show or on our predictions, it was just like they could turn Cena heel. But in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking they're never going to turn. Like it's his last run. They're never going to turn Cena heel. Never say never, because I feel like every time I say never, that ends up actually happening. It's one of the first times in a long time where I don't know how I feel. And it's going to take some time to see where we get to. But it's not like a bad, I don't know how I feel. It's just, I am genuinely shocked by what we saw.
So, Andy, this is what me and Chris were used to back when wrestling was good, back in the old days. We know how to deal with these feelings because we've had them before. But so many people who are watching these days, they didn't used to watch whenever there was shock and awe like what we've seen. And an awesome pay-per-view from top to bottom. I mean, it was just excellent.
Yeah, it really was. And we're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about the women's Elimination Chamber, Bianca Belair punching her ticket to WrestleMania. We're going to talk about the women's tag match. We're going to talk about the violent Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn match. And then, of course, the men's Elimination Chamber is where we're going to park most of our time. John Cena essentially passing out CM Punk, thanks to the assist from Seth Rollins, punches his ticket to face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41, but not in the way, Jared, maybe that we thought. You know, a lot of people have floated the idea of Cena turning heel. We even built a whole match around it at WrestleMania 36 with Bray Wyatt in the Firefly Funhouse match. Triple H tweeted out, Jared, that this was going to be an industry-changing weekend. And a lot of people online, Jared, we've talked about some questionable decisions before by Triple H and the lead into pay-per-views and what are we doing? We're confused. Jared, I don't know if this was their plan all along, but it's definitely industry changing.
Dude, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Like I was saying, we saw an awesome pay-per-view from top to bottom. During the women's matches, I mean, I was interested. And a lot of times, you have to take a pee break. I needed to pee, and I couldn't go pee because I actually wanted to see what was happening during these women's matches. That changed the industry. Cena changed the industry. The Rock, dropping the F word, I don't think they should have, but it changed the industry. There was a lot of stuff that happened tonight that changed the industry, I think. So I don't think old Papa H lied about anything.
I don't think you did either, Andy.
No, I don't think so at all. And, the fun part about all of this is enjoying this in the moment, because we could look back at this moment at WrestleMania and go, man, turning Cena heel was industry changing, but was it for the better? Like, is this actually was that actually the right decision to make? But that's such a fun discussion to have because it's something we weren't expecting. Like we thought it might happen, but we just weren't expecting to see it until it actually happened. And it finally did. And like Jared said, this pay-per-view from the beginning to the end was probably the best top to bottom pay-per-view Triple H has booked so far. In ring wise, storyline wise, I think all of it has fit really well. So I think this is his best pay-per-view.
You put
as Booker.
You put this up against, and again, normally when we have this discussion, for those of you who are new around here, by the way, if you are new around here, please make sure that you like the video, hit that thumbs up button. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps the show a ton. You don't know how much it helps us. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't sign you up for an email, but it helps us so much. But having said that, I don't even remember where I was going with this. What remind me?
I think it's his best show he's
so
booked.
sorry, I got sidetracked.
We're excited.
we are so excited. Oh, this is funny. I want to put this comment up. Wait, I got to put this one up first. Aaron Grisham says WWE said get the F out and brought it right back. More like get the F in. That's hilarious. Love that. Thank you, Aaron. For those of you who are watching live, please make sure you drop your comments, drop your questions. We will get to all of those. Industry changing. Is it for the good? Is it for the bad? I don't know. Like, only time will tell when it comes, just like you said, Andy. I think we still have plenty of time to turn John Cena back babyface. But again, I don't know if this was a plan. What are your thoughts on that, Jared? Like, do you think this was the plan all along? Like, you look, a lot of people post on Twitter, and Andy, I'll steal your thunder because you said it right before we started recording. When Rock was counting, he said 1, 2, 3. Well, if you flip it around, that's what John Cena does, when he does his thing. So was it connected as far back as Bad Blood? I don't know. Jared, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think that they knew the entire plan as far as even what's still coming. I don't think that they've had anything planned out for like over a year, but I do think that they had the groundwork that they were laying. Do I think they know that they were probably going to turn Cena heel? Yes. Do I think that, well, I mean, even like with The Rock last year wanted that match with Roman, and you saw how they had to switch things up. So I think there was a plan, but I think they've had to make changes and probably are still going to make changes to whatever that original plan was. But I do think they knew that they were probably going to turn Cena heel and give us wrestling fans what we begged for years.
Yeah, and honestly, like, going off that real quick, like, this is Cena's last year. So there's no like do-over on this year again. So they've had to have, at least like Jared said, an idea of what the year was going to look like. So maybe this has been, they didn't know how they were going to do it, but this has been in the works for a while. And I mean, we've all kind of talked about it. Like, if, let's say we keep Cena babyface and he loses at WrestleMania, where does he go from there?
Sure.
Like, I think this adds a much needed spice to that heel run, to this run of John Cena of, he sold his soul. He got nervous and he sold his soul out to the devil to try to get that title, and maybe it doesn't work. And now he's trying to redeem himself for this year and everything that he's doing. So this opens the door for, I think, a lot more interesting stories than just getting to WrestleMania, but even further past WrestleMania.
Random tidbit that I have to throw in before I forget is that this whole, I'm into the conspiracy stuff, and a lot of it does come true. But my point is, Travis Scott has always been somebody that everybody in the conspiracy world has speculated about him doing these like demonic, satanic type activities and things, and the whole selling your soul thing that comes with Hollywood. It was just very interesting to be talking about, selling one's soul. And then there's Travis Scott, you have Hollywood, Rock, and then you have John Cena, who's also made his way into Hollywood. So did he kind of sell his soul at some point to become the star that he is, figuratively speaking? It's just interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is. Speaking of WrestleMania, Brad checking us out here. Second year WrestleMania, my house is open to you all. Live about 40 minutes from downtown. Brad, we very much appreciate the invite. WrestleMania is going, I mean, like, we were concerned as much as 24 hours ago. I would argue as 4 hours ago. We were concerned about where we were going to go with WrestleMania. Jared, you and I spent a lot of time talking on the phone this week. And I said, listen, by this time last year, we knew what WrestleMania was going to be. Like, we knew it less than 10 days after the Rumble last year, what WrestleMania was going to be. So it gave us time to get excited. And now we finally find out. And it's Andy. just have trouble.
That right there sums up how I feel.
Yeah.
Jared, okay, I'll ask you this as the old school guy because Andy wasn't even born when this happened yet. So I'm going to ask you. And Andy, you can weigh in. Jared, I'm going to ask you this. Let's say that you and I were the ages that we are right now, and we were transported back to July 7th, 1996, Bash at the Beach, and Hulk Hogan turns heel and forms the NWO. Let's say that we have the knowledge and experiences that we do right now, but that is happening in real time. Do you think this is how we would have felt watching that pay-per-view live and watching the infamous red and yellow turn to black?
Exactly how we would feel, man. I mean, you look at John Cena, and he's basically like, well, Andy, Andy's age group and whatever, the younger wrestling fans.
Sure.
He's been kind of their Hulk Hogan, the same way that we used to look at the Hulkster as this, somebody who would never go bad, didn't have a bad bone in his body whenever it came to his wrestling character. And then he just drops the bomb, man, and everybody's stunned. And I think that is exactly what they accomplished with Cena. And there's very few people that you could do that with that have ever existed in the wrestling world or probably ever will, that it would have this kind of impact that Cena turning heel and Hogan turning heel have had on so many of us.
My dad's in the comments real quick before you follow up.
Billy.
The Rock and Cena are not playing their characters. He says they're showing their true personalities in life. They're both arrogant people. Andy, as you weigh in on what Jared just said, because that dad's comment right there is very similar to Hulk Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about, Hogan and maybe the way that a lot of people saw him in his personal life, I'm not saying The Rock and Cena don't do great things for people or aren't great people or whatever, but you have to have some sort of, this word applies to Hogan, some level of arrogance and aura about yourself to get to the level that those guys are at.
Yeah. I mean, I think somebody has said it before that like the greatest of all times are a little psychotic. Like they have to be to get to where they're at. They have to be arrogant. They have to, think that they are as good as they are. And that's part of what makes them who they are. I also really like the whole aspect, because I completely agree with Jared that Cena to my generation is very much the Hulk Hogan figure of the guy who not only was like the babyface that would never turn heel, but was also the guy that won a lot of matches and buried a lot of people, and like that whole aspect of it too, to where fans like me were begging for this moment to happen. 2011, heading into that WrestleMania against The Rock then, and some stuff with Punk and everything else. So the fact that we're sitting here and this is happening is mind blowing to me. And again, I don't know how I feel about it just yet, but I do know that this is that's the whole fun aspect of this character. Is I think a lot of people would argue Cena's been heel for a long time. He's just, maybe this is the first time he's realizing it, because now he's able to do the things that he did before, and it's just looked at in a completely different light, and it's looked at in a completely different way.
Yep.
And so it's added a lot of intrigue to not just a WrestleMania match that we both have talked about, like we've all talked about for a while on this podcast, that Cody versus Cena is exciting because it's something we wanted to see, but that's about it. Like there's no story going into it. Now they've completely flipped it to where I'm really not I don't know what to expect from that match, but it's at the top of my list of what I want to see now.
And two, you pointed this out before we started recording, Andy, as well. What Cena did at the end of the night calls back to him taking advantage of Seth Rollins, helping him to win the match.
Yeah.
All of that ties together. You can draw that in and be like, babyface Cena would not have done that.
Right.
So that's absolutely a great point. This is a great comment from Aaron here that I want to throw up. Aaron was watching Chamber with my younger brother and parents. They haven't watched wrestling in years. All jumped up just like we saw someone murder someone on live TV. This is this generation's third man. I ran laps around the house. Well, Andy can confirm what I did at my house.
Yeah.
I was sitting down and the low blow happened, and I literally dropped to all fours on the ground. I have no idea what happened. It's like the breath got sucked out of me, and I literally am just watching like this with my hands on my head. Jared, what was your reaction as soon as it happened? What was your reaction?
Dude, so it's kind of weird. Like the whole night, there were spots that were making me do this. I was watching it with my wife. You know, she's laying on the couch, and I'm sure she probably got a lot of humor watching me like jump up and down and do this a lot. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I was kind of like I was just sitting there staring at the TV because I knew one of two things was going to happen. One of these men were going to turn heel. I just didn't know which one.
Yep.
So I was kind of waiting on it, and as soon as it happened, I was kind of just more like.
Yeah.
And I didn't make a sound. I mean, it was just either one of them that had turned heel would have had that effect on me. I knew something was coming. I just didn't know which one it was going to come from.
Yeah. And honestly, having Cena turn on Cody of all people makes the most sense.
Yep.
Because in Cody's mind, the one person that would never turn heel because he never has, and the one person that would understand him telling The Rock to go whatever him like what that he did, like of course he was going to do that with Cena in the ring because Cena's going to have his back because it's Cena. Like that's the thing Cena does.
They had just hugged. They said we're going to WrestleMania together,
and like Cena just hugged Punk in the ring and like all this other stuff, and then just that moment, it's one of the first times like in a long time that I've done the Surrender Cobra, just hands on the back of my head like this, like what am I actually watching right now? What am I witnessing? This is history, and I know it's history, but what is happening?
Aaron says, for a split second, I thought Cody and Cena would stay face and Rock would force a triple threat for the title. Here's what I thought, Jared. And I said this to Andy a gajillion times while this whole thing was happening. Rock comes out. Rock's wearing the same style of pants that he wore at WrestleMania before he took them off and had his trunks underneath. And if you look, it looked like he had his boots on as well. So I thought Rock was either going to just say, okay, we're having a match, and then drop Cena, and he was going to beat him, and that's how Rock gets in the main event. Or Rock was going to drop Cody, take the belt, and Rock was going to be champion, no matter if Cena was involved or not. So, I mean, go ahead.
I didn't really notice that much with The Rock, but what I did notice, speaking of colors and clothing and all that foreshadowing, is that when Cody came out, he was decked out in so much dark color. And I think they did that on purpose to make you think, it's what I thought. I thought, oh no, he's turning heel. And I think they did that on purpose, man. I mean, they're using so much strategy that like Hollywood uses in telling the story. And you even see at the end where they have the credits like WCW used to do back in the day. It's just, I think this is an evolution. Some people's heads are popping off because of how much wrestling is changing, but whether we like it or not, folks, it's changing. And it's more of they're telling a story, and as soon as the story's over, as soon as the filming is done, they do their real personality and flip back to how they really are in real life. And we're getting to see those things. So
Aaron said, Jared, the Supreme Court Justice, nails it again. And Andy, you brought this up, and Jared, you talk about
Andy.
You talk about Cody wearing the dark colors as we get ready to talk about the women's elimination chamber. You mentioned it. Bianca and Naomi both came out wearing white. Jade Cargill came out in her ring gear, which was black.
Yeah. Well, even look at Cena. Cena was in light baby blue with the white sneakers, which he never wears white sneakers. And like, just
I love those
subtleties though of, we're expecting the person that comes out in dark or in black is going to be the bad guy in the situation. When they wear white, they're trying to make themselves look like the good guys or whatever.
Yep.
And just completely playing our minds against us. And it worked.
I can't wait to see what his ring gear looks like now.
No more jorts.
What's he going to do now?
Jorts.
Oh my goodness.
Or dark jorts, black jorts.
Oh.
Or he could wear the jorts, but always wear like dark shoes. Because didn't he usually wear like a white version of some shoe? Not all white, but
Yep.
It'll be interesting.
All right. As we there's so much to unpack here. We could literally talk about this one thing for an hour tonight. But as we sort of wrap up this portion of the conversation, Jared, let it sink in. It's heel John Cena versus babyface Cody Rhodes, a generational passing of the torch match to main event WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. And I have preached it till the cows come home.
I wish I was there. We could have been there, Chris.
We chose the Rumble instead. Sorry. So I have preached it till the cows come home that I did not want a babyface Cena versus babyface Cody in Cena's last WrestleMania. It just did nothing for me. But now, Jared, let it sink in. We know who's on what side, and we know The Rock's going to play some sort of role in all of this. I'm not asking you to fantasy book like what this looks like and how you would do it, but just, man, we still have 4.5, 5 weeks, 6 weeks even,
I think so,
till WrestleMania. There's a lot to do between now and then, and John Cena has only used up 3 of his like 35 dates. So we've got all the time in the world to have Cena on the show. What do you think this outlook looks like as we progress towards WrestleMania?
The only thing that's like going off in my head as you're saying all that is that I think that it all ends with at some point it's Cena probably against Cody. I don't know if it's at WrestleMania or later, because I almost think that Cena will win the title at Mania. And then we'll have to go back to Cody chasing, and he'll beat, Cody will beat him again at some point, is what I'm thinking. But the way I see it ending, which is the only thing I can really see right now, is that in the end, Cena has the chance to figuratively pull the trigger, and that smile comes on his face, and he lets the good win over evil. That's what I see. I think that's how he goes out. He goes out as a face. But other than that, dude, how we get there, I have no clue.
I don't either.
One.
I mean, I think that's a good call. It's like The Rock gives Cena an ultimatum in the match, and like Cena can't pull the trigger or whatever. Because let's be honest, guys, like we're celebrating John Cena's final year in the WWE. We have to turn him back babyface at some point. Whether they do it at WrestleMania or what have you, like they have to do it at some point. But man, like, what are you thinking in like the outlook over the next 6 weeks?
I honestly, like, I think they're gonna play into the Cena Hill character, and I don't know what that. Honestly, like, I can't even wrap my head around what that's going to look like. Like, I don't know if it's going to be like a Hollywood Cena, kind of like Hogan was, or if he's going to try to be like a darker character. Like, I honestly have no idea what to expect, but I do think, as of right now, I don't think he wins the title at Mania. I think he will chase most of the year, because he's going to realize, and that's like when he turns is when he wins. When he turns back to being a babyface is when he wins, because he's going to realize in the chase, I got nervous and I sold my soul, and I went away from the one thing I've always been, and that's Mr. Hustle, loyalty, and respect. And I've lost all that, and I don't think he wins the title until he makes that jump. And maybe he's not even Cody that he beats. Maybe it's, Gunther or Jey Uso, or, he'll CM Punk as world heavyweight champion, because I can dream too. I think that's like a real possibility of Cena finally going back to the good side, kind of like we mentioned. Maybe The Rock is like, this is your last chance. Take this, hit him with it, and then he hits The Rock with it, and we kind of go from there. But again, how we get to all of this, I have no idea what the next couple weeks or the next couple months are going to look like. But I do know it's going to be just crazy every single time.
As Sam Roberts says, just let them cook. Let Triple H do his thing. Again,
do you think he already knows how this is going to end, or do you think that so they'll probably will still make some twists and turns they haven't planned for, but you think they ultimately know how it's going to end right now?
I don't think they make a turn this monumental and not know how it's going to end. Like, I think they absolutely, yes, Jared, they're open to some twists and turns or whatever, but turning the ultimate babyface heel, they absolutely know how they're turning it back around and all that kind of stuff. I firmly believe that. But man, I'm not going to give Rock all the credit. So if it sounds like I am, please don't take it that way. But Rock was able to help flip it on its head last year. Rock has been able to help flip it on its head this year. Cena being a huge part of that as well. But Andy, we both anticipated that Roman Reigns would somehow be involved in all this, and he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, which I think that means we're getting that triple threat at Mania with him, and I'm not a huge fan of that. of it being Seth, Punk, and Roman. I honestly, I thought he might come out tonight, even before Cena turned heel. I thought there's a chance Roman does come out, and maybe
I thought, especially when Cena turned, that Roman was going to come save Cody.
That's what I was waiting on.
Or just come out and be like, what are you, like, to The Rock, what are you doing?
Yep.
Like, what is going on right now? But yeah, I'm honestly shocked he didn't show up. And it's weird to me that going into WrestleMania this year, we don't really know what the guy who held the title longer than anybody in the last decade, we have no idea what he's doing at WrestleMania. And we're this close to WrestleMania.
We said the same thing about Cody up until tonight.
Yeah.
Now we have
But he was the champion, so you knew he was going to have a big spot at Mania.
Right.
With Roman, it's like he doesn't have a title, so you know he's going to be at Mania. But what does that look like?
Yep.
Do you think that they could even be setting up still for Roman versus Rock this year? We got 6 weeks.
Possible.
Yeah, we got 6 weeks. You're exactly right, Jared. We got
possible.
6 weeks.
And I think doing it like having Cena be Rock's guy is how they're going to get out of giving us Cody Rock.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think we're getting a Cody versus Rock singles match now.
For sure. And we might end up with a tag match down the road. I think Sam Roberts pitched this on his show last week. Cody and Roman versus Rock and Cena at some point. You know, that's a SummerSlam is 2 nights this year. That can headline one of the nights very, very easily. You talk about one of the most star-studded tag matches you'll ever see.
I mean, if we can do Vince McMahon when Vince was like 60 or whatever, 65, if we can do him versus Stone Cold and get away with it and people loved it, I don't care what kind of condition The Rock is in my mind, he has to go down to Cody in a match. I don't care how much it sucks, how great it is.
Yeah.
I just feel like at some point to win this ultimately, which I think he'll need Cena's help, Cody has to beat The Rock. Simple as that.
Yeah, he has to take him down. I mean, like Rock said, this is a feud that we don't even have to be in the ring with. Oh, yes, we do, though, because everything goes to the ring.
Well,
everything leads to the ring.
Going back to that, I mean, we're just like unlayering this onion that is this moment. What was Cena's involvement in the match last year at WrestleMania when he came out to help Cody? Now we're like, now he's turned on Cody and telling this whole. So there's so many just different routes that they can run with this.
Let's piggyback on that real quick, because look at the last year or so or whatever it's been when Cody's been the champion, especially when he aligned himself with Roman Reigns. Look how many people that he ticked off.
Yeah.
Look how many friends that he lost. What's this now going to do to Cena?
Yeah.
If Cena tries to turn babyface again, Jared, what's this going to do to Cena?
Yeah.
When he tries to make amends and like, no. You sold your soul to the final boss.
Yeah.
That's why I think that the only way this ends, again, I'm just saying that a lot, but the only way that this ends is Cena at the end, whenever he's ready to retire, and maybe it's a retirement match. He gives a nod and a wink, and he lays down and takes the pin or allows somebody to beat him, and that's it. I don't think you have Cena coming back and trying to make amends. I don't think that that's part of this story. At least I hope not.
Yeah.
I think regardless of how that last match ends, if he's a babyface or if he's a heel or whatever, like it's standing ovation all the way around. Like everybody's just gonna appreciate what he's doing. I think even at WrestleMania, if he's a heel all the way, if he doesn't turn babyface at WrestleMania, like it's going to be the same thing. We're going to be sending off Cena at WrestleMania just like we did HBK in 2010, and just like we did Ric Flair in 2008 and all that kind of stuff.
Well, how mind-boggling is it that all this time they've been trying to get everybody to cheer Cena? They finally start cheering him and they turn him heel.
Yeah, I know. But he got a pop when he low blowed Cody. There was an audible like, we're doing this.
It was something.
We're actually doing this.
Yep.
And you talked about it. What is this going to do to Cena? I think this is ultimately also playing into that eventual heel turn from Cody.
Oh, yeah.
When we get that Homelander Cody of everybody that he knows has slowly started to turn on him.
Yep.
When Randy eventually turns on Cody, that might be like the final straw that breaks the camel's back. And when that happens, then he just becomes this evil, vindictive dude that we've all been kind of waiting to see.
Real quick, Jared, as we get ready to move on, because we got a couple more matches that we need to talk about. The actual chamber match itself from the men, I thought was done really, really well. I was shocked that Drew McIntyre was the first guy eliminated. You had the cool exchange with Punk and with Cena, all that kind of stuff. Just what were your overall thoughts, takeaways from the actual match, not the aftermath?
Dude, there's just not much negative that I can say about this show. I mean,
Yep.
most of what was done, I feel like was done to perfection. The only thing that I can even think of that really went through my head was, like you said, when Drew got eliminated so fast, I thought there were a couple pinfalls that just kind of happened bam, bam, bam. But it allowed for the biggest stars of the match to have the most time with each other. So I think it was done for the right reason.
Yeah, and I think this aside from Logan Paul, I think this set up what Mania is going to look like for everybody involved, other than Logan Paul, because I think we're going to get that Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest match, which is what it is, and then the Seth Roman Punk match at WrestleMania. I think that kind of set up, and taking what happened afterwards, because it plays into it, so it's not as big of a deal
for sure.
I just wish one of these men's like chamber matches would finish cleanly. I don't need somebody every year coming back into the chamber to hit a move to then get somebody pinned, because it happened 2 years ago with Seth, happened last year with Randy, happened this year with Punk.
Yeah.
So I think it's just we're kind of keeping this trend going. But again, the chamber match was absolutely awesome. There's a lot of amazing spots. I think everybody got their moment to shine.
Yep.
I think that was really important.
I think Logan Paul, if we're having, you said that he's the only one that doesn't have like a definite story. I mean, I think he probably steals the show in a multi-man match.
Maybe.
Probably for the Intercontinental title or the U.S. title. It seems like we might be headed that way in the Intercontinental with Braun Breaker, with AJ, with Penta.
Yeah.
Even they've thrown in like Ludwig Kaiser a little bit there and whatever.
Pete Dunne.
So, Pete Dunne, I think you could easily, Jared, insert Logan Paul into that. Maybe he doesn't have this definite rivalry going into WrestleMania, but it gives him an opportunity to steal the show in a match like that.
I think they had the perfect opportunity to put him against Punk, which for whatever reason, I'm dying to see. I don't know why the thought of these two going at it that makes you smile, just like both of you all just did.
Right.
But it does. I'm just like, that would be interesting, and I would love to see it. And I honestly think that's the route that I'd say 50-50, whether they stick him in a multi-man match or if he's not in some sort of triple threat or whatever, triangle match, you have him against Logan, Punk against Logan.
I thought for sure after the Rumble it was going to be AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I thought that would have been a really cool WrestleMania match. But it's so funny, Jared, that you mentioned that, because it's like no matter who you say an opponent for Logan Paul, you can sit and laugh and be like, haha, that'd be funny. But you know what? That would actually be really, really cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think I would love to see Paul versus Punk anywhere but WrestleMania. Like I don't want to see Punk, and I don't want to see Punk waste his time with Logan Paul at WrestleMania, to be honest with you.
Well, I think to that point, this is Punk's first WrestleMania back.
Yeah, healthy. Yeah.
So I don't know that it'll be Logan Paul there.
Yeah.
They can still build this to like a, whatever show down the road. I think that's fine. I just wouldn't want it to be Punk's first Mania back, against Logan Paul.
Yeah.
That being said, the men's chamber was great. The women's chamber, let's talk about that. Bianca Belair coming out with a win. Seemingly, Jared, this dream match that we have been begging for since 2021 when they were the final two in the Rumble. We're finally going to get Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley, sans Io Sky. We have a women's championship match on Monday Night Raw, which I don't think Rhea's dropping the title. I don't want to see a three-way there. Jared, Rhea versus Bianca, names in the lights on the biggest stage. These two are going to tear it up.
I'm pretty excited for this match. I've wanted to see this for a while. You have two big, strong, muscular women that can both move like as quick as cats. And so, I just think that you're going to see a lot of power moves, and I think they will land the majority of them perfectly. So I think it'll be an excellent match.
I can't believe I'll let you talk me out of my chamber prediction, Andy.
Listen, I was excited about the idea of a Rhea versus Bayley, because that's something we haven't seen ever. So it's the next best option. But I am very, very excited to see Bianca versus Rhea. I think it's your two, like, if you can even throw Jade in there at some point, but it's like your two superhuman women in the ring together that are going to just beat each other up, tear the house down, like you said. And so I'm looking forward to. I'm really curious to see. Obviously, Bianca's attention is going to be split during this whole feud, which could play into her downfall going into WrestleMania. But I'm very interested to see how they're going to kind of split both of those stories at the same time.
Yeah, Jared, I'm definitely interested in that as well. I don't know how, because Jade opened up the show tonight, clobbering Naomi, taking her out of the chamber in a very vicious way. And almost like Bianca was the first one out of her pod. Jared, it was almost like she was just going to leave the chamber and go with Naomi. And like we were losing two competitors right there. So that could have happened. But like to Andy's point, like Bianca's attention is going to be split. I'm really curious, Jared, how they're going to tell this story with Jade and Naomi and the attacker situation and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I mean, everybody speculated that Naomi would end up being the one that actually attacked Jade Cargill. And so I think that that's the route they're going. I think that she being Naomi, pronouns pal, I think Naomi didn't think maybe that Jade saw her maybe in the attack and then was still just believing the lie that it was somebody else. And then Jade did see her and comes in there and beats the snot out of her. So I feel like that's the route this is taking.
Yeah, I think it probably takes Naomi off TV for a couple weeks. Let this thing cook even longer.
Probably. Yeah, I think the promo either on Monday or Friday is going to be between Bianca and Jade.
Yep.
Of just like Bianca trying to figure out why Jade did what she did. And the interesting part of all of this is we still don't know if Bianca was involved in this or not. Because there is a scenario where Bianca was the mastermind behind all of this. And so maybe that plays into Bianca wins the title at Mania. Jade beats Naomi. Jade figures out that Bianca was a part of it. And after she wins, here comes Jade out to the ring and we're, maybe going to SummerSlam or whatever the case is. So there's a lot of different areas that they could take this. But I'm just glad we're finally starting to get some answers about who attacked Jade and everything. Because it seems like we've been kind of sitting in this one spot for the last couple of months to get to this point. But it was worth it to get that moment of Jade coming into the ring and just laying waste to Naomi.
I think it's very interesting that we could see. I don't know if it's going to happen between now and WrestleMania or not. We still have 6 weeks, like we've been saying, but I think it's interesting that we're building. Seemingly, I think Bianca was behind the attack. I think ultimately we get to Jade Bianca, but I think it's so interesting, Jared, that we are leading towards John Cena heel turn, which we never thought we would see. And the ultimate women's babyface on the other side, Bianca Belair, potentially with a heel turn of her own. I mean, you could probably get away with Jade Cargill being the heel here, but seemingly no. It's just, I say that it's shocking because, Jared, it's a different side of Bianca Belair that we haven't seen, that a lot of us have been clamoring to be like, what if she was a heel? Her.
Heel. Yeah, I think that it's working out perfectly to where that Bianca can make the heel turn before Mania and then go in as a heel against Rhea. I mean, we just saw what they did with the potential of Cena versus Cody and it being face versus face. If you look back over the years, that doesn't work on the grandest stage of them all, Hogan and Warrior. I personally loved the match, loved seeing it. But as far as box office and doing what's best for business, probably wasn't the best idea as far as making money at the time. So I definitely think this gives them a perfect path to go down.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. I mean, you could tweener Bianca throughout the whole thing if you want, don't exactly know what she's doing. Rhea's trying to, it could be like the whole situation last year, Andy, with Seth and with Drew and all that, with Drew saying, look, Seth, you might be distracted over here with Cody Rhodes' bloodline nonsense, but you better be paying attention. So I say that to say, like, it could be Rhea trying to light a fire under Bianca and bring out a more vicious side of her.
Yeah, and I think we could even like play into, trying to make Bianca not look like part of the attack, even though she is, by maybe in a couple of weeks have Naomi face Bianca because she never got eliminated from the chamber. Mm-hmm. So you have Naomi versus Bianca for that spot at WrestleMania.
Could do that.
Maybe something happens in a way that, Naomi just lays down or whatever the case is. But I think there's a lot of ways that you can go into that. And I agree. I think if we keep Bianca kind of tweener going into WrestleMania, and then maybe at Mania, with the help of Naomi, she just flat out cheats and wins.
Sure.
And wins the title. And then that's kind of the big reveal that she was a part of the attack or turned because of Jade or whatever. So I think we're in a territory we haven't been in a long time where literally anything can happen. It's not going to be the same thing every single week.
Yep.
Anything can happen at any point in time.
It's WrestleMania season, baby. Just let them cook. I think it'll be interesting too that we're dragging this out even further, because the thing to think about is Bianca's probably going to be on Raw for a while, because she's chasing the Raw Women's Champion. So we'll be able to split brands and drag this thing out a little bit longer. Jared, you said you were really just engaged all night long with what was happening. The chamber match itself, despite the angles and who won, man, a lot of good stuff from Alexa Bliss, a lot of great stuff from Liv Morgan in the match, Roxanne Perez, Bayley. Just a really, I'm still trying to figure out if I like the women's match better than the men's, because there were lots of stuff I liked about both.
That was the match I was watching. Well, I watched the entire pay-per-view with my wife, except for the main event. She was tired and went to bed, so I thanked her for watching that much of it. But seeing how engaged she even was. Like, she was asking me who Alexa was, and I was explaining to her about Alexa. And then Roxanne comes out, and I'm like, so this is a girl that's in NXT. And she's like, oh, I know. And I was like, well, that's their feeder system. Oh, I know. And so but I explained it, and Roxanne looked like she belonged in there. Like, if you didn't know, you wouldn't think, who's this newbie they've let go in there for this match? You would think she's already a part of the main roster. So, I think she has a bright future, man.
Yep, for sure. Bayley, our pick to win it. The first one eliminated.
Yeah. Technically,
she
wasn't.
Not counting Naomi. I know.
Was the first one.
First one pinned. Okay, first one pinned.
Listen, I completely agree. I think both chamber matches did a great job of letting everybody get a moment.
Yes.
Or letting everybody get a spot to shine and to really show what they're capable of. Because we've seen a lot of chamber matches in the past where it's kind of like people kind of just do stuff, and then the big guys get in, clear house, and it's just focused on them. Everybody in both chambers got a moment to shine.
Yep.
And I agree. I think Roxanne Perez showed she has what it takes to not just hang with the main roster, but like be a champion someday. I think the match heading into WrestleMania might be her and Bayley, because they've had a rivalry going the last couple of weeks in NXT, kind of feuding over, and now it can bleed over into the main roster. But yeah, just a fantastic chamber match. I think obviously the men's is going to be remembered more because of what happened after the men's match. But the women's is going to be remembered for how it started, because I've never seen a chamber. I've seen people be attacked going into the chamber. I've never seen the chamber start, and then here came somebody out and just cleared house.
Yeah,
I love the spot where she got the door, where Jade got the door and just slammed it right into her. Again, my wife, she popped for that when she was like, "Oh!" I'm just glad, dude. Like, a lot of times you want to introduce people to wrestling or get them to see a time when wrestling puts its best foot forward. And this whole pay-per-view, man, I'm glad that my wife got to see it, because this explains why I love wrestling. And we haven't really seen this for so long.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like Aaron said earlier in his comments, like his family watched it and they hadn't watched wrestling in a long time, and they popped. Yes, it was John Cena turning, because John Cena is a worldwide name, but still, like, to your point, Jared, like it was more than just that if you sat down and you watched the whole thing. So great matches all around. Again, if you're watching this live, please make sure that you've hit that thumbs up button on the video. That helps the algorithm. That helps people be able to see the video, all that kind of stuff. And make sure you leave comments, leave your questions. We'll be happy to answer those live. And most importantly, if you haven't subscribed, listen, ladies and gentlemen, 90% of our viewership not subscribed to the show. What are you doing? The button is right down below this video. Just make sure to hit it. You get a notification every time we go live. That way you can join in on the fun. It doesn't cost you a thing. It helps us a ton. Please subscribe to the channel. All right.
The button's down where?
It's down there. Thank you so much. Brad says, I'm going to throw this up. Best one in a long time, reminded me of the old days. I go way back. Well, Brad, of course, know that you fit right in here on Squared Circle Radio, and we appreciate you as always being with us. If you're new and you're not following us on social media, our handles are right here on the screen. And if you're listening on podcast, just make sure you're following on whatever platform that you have chosen. All right,
Brad
real
actually
quick,
messaged me that during this pay-per-view, and
oh,
I
really?
was tickled. I was tickled to hear it, man. That like it wasn't just us, but like everybody who's watching is like, this is what I remember that we haven't seen for so long. This is why I like this sport they call wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. All right, real quick, the women's tag team match: Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton getting the win over Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. I was putting a kid to bed during this, so I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it. But Andy was what it was. Babyface is getting the win.
Yeah, and it was exactly what it needed to be, of using Trish Stratus as the hometown legend and as popular as she is to get over the next and upcoming and Tiffany Stratton. And that's exactly what this did. I love the fact that Tiffany got the pinfall win against Nia, kind of putting that rivalry to bed. Yep. Like, that rivalry is over. We can both move forward now to something different. Again, like, everybody got a moment to shine, and that's really important in these kind of matches. And did not expect Trish Stratus to pull out a Stratusfaction from the top rope on Nia. Like, that was one of those spots where when she hit it, I was like, oh, Trish can still go. Like, Trish can still do some things. So it was the match that it needed to be, and so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Again, watching with my wife, and she said, "Who's that?" And I said, "That's Trish." And she said, "Oh, she's pretty." I said, "Yeah, she's also about 50." And my wife was shocked. So I love seeing her back, man. And you know, to be able to do a move like that at almost 50 years old, I mean, that's pretty rare. I mean, you can dislocate or break a hip pretty easily doing that.
Yeah, especially for a woman that has had 2 kids. I'm fairly certain she has 2. So, in the toll that takes on your body, and to be able to come back at this age, not easy. But Trish showing that she's in incredible shape. She does her yoga, she does her fitness, she does all the things, and then getting back in here for her 25th anniversary in her hometown. Super, super special, super cool for her to be back. One of my all-time favorites. I think she's top 5 as far as women's wrestlers of all time, just my opinion. All right, let's talk unsanctioned. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. It was a brutal match, really was. You had a barbed wire chair, you had lots of tables, you had a hockey stick, you had chairs and the whole 9 yards. But Jared, if there's one thing that I was disappointed in this show, it was during this match. And I hate to say that, but I'm going to throw it out there.
Okay.
I felt like that this match, there was no blood. Big miss, in my opinion. The match started out with wrestling moves. For as much as these guys said that they hated each other, they wanted to tear each other apart, and nobody was going to be able to, thankfully, nobody was going to be able to stop them from doing what they wanted to do. I don't know. It's something just felt off the whole time. It's like Jared and Andy may be able to Andy may be able to weigh in on this a little more than Jared and I. It felt like that they wanted to do so much more, but they couldn't. Like, Jared, did you get that feeling at all?
Yeah, I definitely felt like something was off. And even like to begin with, to take it farther, like I kind of quit paying attention a little bit. Who would think you would quit paying attention during an unsanctioned match? But whenever they just immediately went out to the crowd, and it was a lot of like the stuff that's kind of almost cartoony, a cartoony ECW type of stunts. They would just hit each other with trash cans, random stuff that didn't really look like it hurt that much. And so probably almost until about you're probably a third of the way into it before it really got exciting. But something did feel like it was off. Now at the end, I was happy with it, but I definitely think something could have been done different. I don't know what, but in the structure of the match to make it a little more appealing to everybody.
See, I'm completely different. I thought this was my favorite match of the night.
Really?
Was this
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
And part of that is because I went into the expectations knowing this is a WWE unsanctioned match.
Okay.
So this was not going to be El Generico versus Kevin Steen and ladder wars where they're going to package pile driver each other through ladders and everything else. Like that's just not what the WWE system is. I think it started off with like them throwing hands and throwing punches, which is what they always do.
No, it was like,
how'd they start?
That was just like, it wasn't locking up, but they started circling each other and they were whipping each other off the ropes and they did something. There was some sort of something
hands first.
I don't think I could be wrong. It just didn't. I think my point in all this is I didn't necessarily think we were getting El Generico versus Kevin Steen. And I didn't think that we were getting ladder wars. And I understood it was a WWE unsanctioned match. I get all of that. It didn't feel like a fight to me. And I'll give you an example. My 5-year-old was watching this with us. And as they're coming out, I told him, I'm like, buddy, this is not going to be a wrestling match. I tried to prep him by saying, listen, this is going to be a fight. There's no rules. They're going to do a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally see. I'm just trying to prepare you in case you don't want to watch, just because I don't know what we're about to see. And by the end of it, I was like, it was fine.
Yeah.
Like it just did not feel like the hatred that they expressed about each other came through in the match.
See, that's where I don't know. I get what you're saying, but then we have like Kevin Owens getting dropped on his head through a chair, and then the barbed wire chair spot where they're beating each other up, and the blue thunder bomb onto the chair, and the power bomb on the apron, which we haven't seen since Daniel Bryan, maybe.
It's been a minute.
I don't know if it's been that long.
That was 2018. It's been a minute since we've seen it.
I feel like.
Maybe, yeah, but I think since he brought the stunner though in as his finisher is when like we haven't really seen him do it a lot since then.
It's been sporadic. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I think they did a good job of showing the hatred between these two because it wasn't always like weapons and being physical, but when they used weapons, it laid an impact, like being pushed off the top rope through those two tables and just moments like that. And then obviously after the match, I think he's trying to package pile driver him on the concrete and everything.
Sure.
So I think it bled through. But again, my expectations were not that we were going to get something absolutely crazy. I was shocked that they had a barbed wire chair. I was completely shocked because I even looked at you like, here comes the ladder or maybe thumbtacks.
Right.
And then here came the barbed wire chair, and I was pleasantly surprised by that.
Yeah, I was happy by the end. But again, for the first third of the match or so, I could have cared less. But I do think as far as the limits that WWE is willing to take things within that realm, I think they went about as far as they could go without having something like a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had headshots with a trash can lid, with chairs.
Multiple times with chairs.
With several things. So, yeah, I'm not trying to say that I don't think they went beyond what normal no DQ matches or hardcore matches would be able to go. Like they definitely were able to push the limits with what they were able to do. I don't know. Maybe I will need to go back and watch it again and just see, because if it was your favorite match of the night, and I'm not saying that it was a bad match by any stretch, the hatred just did not come off Jared, I'll throw it back to this.
Okay.
Edge and Matt Hardy 2005. When that feud happened, when Hardy came back after the whole Lita thing, you felt it. Like coming off the TV, you felt like these guys
they did hate each other.
That's true. Exactly. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe Kevin and Sammy need to just take a break from this friendship thing. And maybe they need to hate each other or something. I don't know.
I'll even put it on the edge, on the like spectrum of like Punk versus McIntyre Hell in a Cell. Because that was 10 times more brutal than this was. But I think it was because they were able to use the structure is a lot more different than just having like, an open match, an unsanctioned match where they're not going to do death match stuff. We're not going to get Hangman Page versus Swerve where they're literally doing everything inhumane to each other in the middle of the match. We're not going to get that here. So it's just a different it's hard to do a blood feud in today's WWE. It just is, because you're not able to do, we all freaked out when they brought back the pile driver for just these last few weeks. So
Right.
it's hard to do blood feuds, I think, to end with a satisfying match.
Yeah.
I do think it's time to call an end to this thing, though. I felt like this gave us closure, and it's time to move on.
I mean, we moved on in a big way with the return of Randy Orton
Yeah.
at the end of the match. And Andy, I called it right when Kevin Owens was going back, and get that cat out of there. Good grief. When Kevin was going back to the ring and he grabbed Sammy, I said, "Here comes Randy." And you said, "Oh, I didn't even think about that."
Yeah.
And then the music hit. Jared, I mean, that's seemingly the way that we're going at WrestleMania, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, which is exactly the way we should go.
I agree. I hope that they don't start out with just a regular match, and then this thing ends with a DQ, and then we have to wait. WrestleMania should be the culmination of feuds, and in order to blow this thing off, I do think that they will need some sort of stip or something to really get in there and do it justice.
Yep.
Yeah, I completely agree. It needs to end with either Kevin Owens taking a punt from Randy Orton or Orton eating another package pile driver.
Yes.
That's how that needs to end at WrestleMania. You can't do that in a standard match. So it has to be steel cage, even something like that. I think would work really well. The question is, do you think to me, the question is, do you think Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross is on WrestleMania?
No.
Or do you think it's on the TV before?
TV before or TV after?
Which is crazy to think that Sami Zayn main evented WrestleMania 2 years ago. Last year, beat Gunther, won the IC title, and is not going to be on Mania this year.
Not on the card. I don't think he's on the card.
Wow.
The same way that I don't think that Alexa Bliss is on the card. I don't think
she'll be in the tag match.
Yeah, maybe if they end up going that route of adding Nikki Cross and Alexa and Nikki versus Liv and Raquel, maybe. I would be more disappointed, obviously, if Liv's not on the card than that, because she deserves to be the way that her 2024 went. A lot of big stars, Jared, are going to miss out on the WrestleMania card. I mean, you look up and down. We even said this at the Royal Rumble. Look up and down the Royal Rumble field of 30, especially of the men. All the guys that were not in the Royal Rumble that you would think would be a shoe-in. I hate to say it, even though WrestleMania is 2 nights, some of them are going to suffer the same fate.
Yeah, and that just goes to show, man, that I do think we're in another boom period, just like we were with the Attitude Era, because it was the same way back then. Everybody came across as stars, and you couldn't ever fit everybody onto a single card on a single night. And that just shows the depth of this talent roster and how good they're doing at getting everybody over. I mean, we care. We care, and we want to see these people, and we want good things for them, and we want to see their matches. And for so long, man, I didn't care about most of these characters.
Sure. And now we do. Papa H has given us a reason to care about not only the top of the card, but the middle of the card and even the bottom of the card with some of these people that are coming up for sure. All right, let's close up Elimination Chamber here. Listen, you're watching this live. Make sure you're subscribed, because we will be back in 48 hours Monday night for our regularly scheduled live show. We'll be right here. I'm sure we still won't have words for John Cena at that point. We will try, but we probably won't have words. Having said that, as we wrap up this post show, Andy, I'll let you go first. Jared, you go after. Big picture takeaways from tonight's show. Your thoughts as we close up the final PLE before WrestleMania. I think they showed tonight 49 days away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 7 weeks, exactly 7 weeks from WrestleMania tonight. Final takeaways from the chamber.
Man, my final takeaways are that wrestling is in a fantastic spot right now. Better than it's been in decades. And we had some of our questions for WrestleMania were answered tonight.
Yep.
But the questions then changed, which is always important. That yes, you answer some of our questions, but you don't give us all the answers. And in fact, you introduce some new ones. And that's exactly what happened tonight. And I'm very excited to see where we go. Like, I think the road to WrestleMania picked up a lot because we talked about, man, WrestleMania this year, like 39 WrestleMania build was amazing.
Yeah.
40 WrestleMania build started off weird and then got really good really quick.
Yep.
41 has been like, let's just throw a dart at the board and see what we get. And now it's really starting to shape up into being another really compelling card top to bottom.
Jared, just like Roddy Piper would say, just when you think you have all the answers, I change the questions.
Dude, and just like what Andy was saying, wrestling is in such a good place. And I think for so long, Vince struggled to get to the point that we're actually at, which is how do you mix Hollywood in with professional wrestling? And you still have great matches, you have the violence, you have in-ring action. But if you tell stories, like during the Attitude Era, a lot of times for WCW and for WWF, during that whole time, like, this is how they left us. This is why we kept watching, was because each time you couldn't wait to see the next show. It wasn't just, oh, we're going to throw some people out there and make it, glamorous and dress everybody up. This is still wrestling, but it matters and we care. And that's what Triple H and The Rock have been able to accomplish that Vince couldn't ever seem to really get right and keep on that path.
Well, I mean, just look at like week to week on SmackDown and on Raws, how many celebrities are sitting front row every single week.
Yep.
Like that. It used to be a rarity when they would show celebrities, and 9 times out of 10, the celebrities would be like a WWE legend and then like a D-list actor that nobody heard of. And now you've got Drake, who went through one of the biggest rap beefs of the year, sitting behind commentary all night. You have Deion Dawkins, who is a amazing offensive lineman for the Bills. You've got like stars everywhere. Matthew McConaughey was on a random Raw a couple weeks ago. So like, it's not just wrestling fans that are enjoying wrestling right now, but they're making wrestling cool again and important. And that is, that's how the Attitude Era became what it became. And that's how this era is becoming as popular as it is.
I like to feel like I'm not embarrassed about having watched wrestling. You tell people now that you like wrestling, and it's like, oh, yeah, and they start talking to you about it. Where it used to be like, you like what? That stupid stuff that's fake. I don't feel stupid for watching it anymore.
Yeah, and the outsiders, we'll call them, who don't know, who aren't wrestling fans or whatever, that you say something about wrestling and you tell them how big it is. You tell them how many people they pack into a stadium over 2 nights, and you tell them this, that, and the other, and they're like, "Oh, really?
It's that popular?"
Yeah,
it is.
Exactly. It's like all you got to do is take somebody to a city where WWE has taken over for a weekend, and they're like, "Oh my gosh,
Indianapolis!"
Exactly.
It was all over the place.
Exactly. Here's my biggest takeaway from tonight: John Cena is a heel, and the way that The Rock and John Cena, and I'll even throw Travis Scott in there, who got a couple of shots on Cody tonight. As I was putting my 5-year-old to bed after we had just turned off the TV with his favorite wrestler having a crimson mask, as I'm putting him to bed, I said, "You know what, buddy?" Because the dejected look was on his face as he was going to bed. And it's not because he was tired. The dejected look was on his face, was that his favorite wrestler was left laying in a pool of his own blood. And I said, "Buddy, don't forget, Cody's still the champion, and that Cody is still the man." So my biggest takeaway is I hope there are so many fans out there that are like my 5-year-old that want to rally behind the American Nightmare so much right now. Not that they hate John Cena, because it's not about we don't like John Cena going into this WrestleMania match, because if it was The Rock, it would almost be more like, oh, we don't like what The Rock's doing, or we don't like Roman Reigns because he held the title hostage, or we don't like this dastardly heel. No, it's we love Cody Rhodes. And now I think just as much, this has done kudos to The Rock and John Cena for making themselves look really, really good, Jared, but making Cody Rhodes that much more of the guy that this company has planted its flag in.
The whole reason why that like superheroes, like the comic books, the reason why that those work is because that you have a figure, a character that everybody cares about and you get to hear their story. But it's really built about the villains, and you get to know the villains and what they're all about. And they seem like they're just indestructible. But that good guy, he's coming for you. And in the end, good always defeats evil. And that's what we're watching, and that's what I love.
Yeah. And I mean, the feeling I have right now, in a way, is very similar to the feeling I had to the Raw in, was it Chicago last year, heading into WrestleMania, when Rock beat the crap out of Cody and left him bleeding and dropped an F-bomb on TV there too and was whipping him with it, and Cody was bleeding and the Rock was just going on that entire rant. That's part of how I'm feeling right now. Is Cody's the biggest babyface in an era where big babyface like that not work, and it works because Cody is that believable, but he's not perfect.
Right.
And I think that's the part that has always been missing is when Cena was the biggest babyface, he seemed like he was always perfect. He never made the mistake. He never did that. He never did that. Cody, look at his past couple feuds have been all because he made mistakes. Teaming with Roman. Now here comes Kevin Owens, and here comes, Solo Sikoa and all of this other stuff. So he said no tonight, and now the biggest babyface of all time, one of the biggest babyfaces of all time, and John Cena turned heel and attacked him for it. So there's so many layers. I do have a question for you.
Oh, God.
Because you've been harping on this since Rumble. Was the Chamber worth it to figure out Cody's opponent?
That's a great question.
Since you like to throw surprise questions at me, I'll throw it at you.
I still think I'll say yes and no. Yes, because I ultimately think this moment it's more earth-shaking than Sami Zayn hitting Roman Reigns with the chair at Royal Rumble a couple years ago. It's more earth-shaking than that just because of the weight of John Cena. The moment was worth it. Yeah. But I still think we could have gotten to this without the Chamber. I think the moment worked. We could have gotten there without it, but I'm happy with it.
You pick this moment up and put it at any other pay-per-view, and it still does the same thing.
And it does the exact same thing.
I agree.
For sure. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
no, it does.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
All right, Jared. Anything else to add, brother, before we sign off?
I'm just excited to see what happens next, man. I'm looking forward to Raw on Monday night and then getting back on here and talking about it with you guys, talking to everybody in the chat. Can't wait, man.
Yeah, if you're in the chat, you can drop your comments and questions. Drop those even after the show. We go back and we take care of all those comments, and we make sure that we answer your questions. And for the love of everything that is good, please subscribe to the podcast. I don't want to sound like I'm begging, but my goodness, if 90% of the people that are watching this stuff is not subscribed, it's not hard. Just hit the subscribe button.
Just sell us your soul.
Just sell
give
us your soul. That's it.
Want your soul.
One more comment before we get out of here from my dad. Guys, it's simple. Cody is becoming his dad. Oof.
That's
awesome. I would say bigger than his dad.
You heard The Rock tonight. Cody let the dream die twice.
Oh, that was that line. Oh my gosh. Cody's becoming bigger. Obviously, in Dusty's time, it would have been impossible to get as big as Cody is right now. But, Cody's making Dusty proud. Let's put it that way, Jared. He's making him proud.
So, how long is it until he goes to Hollywood?
He's already been to Hollywood.
That's my question. I'm talking about full time. Pulls a John Cena, The Rock, Dave Bautista.
I'd give it 5 years.
Oh yeah, he said he doesn't want to wrestle. What is he, like 43 right now?
Yeah,
and he definitely doesn't want to wrestle till he's 50, is what he said. So
probably when like a couple of like the NXT guys come up,
5 to 7 years.
Yeah,
5 to 7 years, I think, probably. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for another live edition of Squared Circle Radio. We appreciate you guys being with us so much. For Mr. Jared Justice and Andy York, my name's Chris Belcher. We hope you guys are subscribed to the show. Hit that notifications bell, and we will see you right back here on our channel Monday for another edition of Squared Circle Radio.